in heaven and earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. To the glory of God the Father. Does that get you all fired up like it gets me all fired up? I hope you take that home and read it again and over again and let God show you who he is. Because if we're going to rise up, and I'm going to skip ahead for next week. Next week is a whole different topic, but if we're going to rise up, we've got to bow low to our King first. Next week, we're going to totally dive into that. So next time, come back for that for sure. But tonight, we're talking about kingdom perspective and moving toward things eternal versus things temporary. We're moving towards heavenly pursuits instead of earthly pursuits. Keeping on the forefront things eternal versus the temporary, and how this affects our relationships, our families, our interactions with each other, our jobs, and how it affects our view of success. So here are a couple things to ask you. Are we keeping heavenly pursuits or clinging to the temporary when, in our relationships, are we leading others toward Jesus? Or are we offering what God offers to us? Forgiveness, love, mercy, peace. Are we bringing that to the table in our relationships? When we keep heavenly pursuits, are we picking those petty arguments that need to not be picked? Are we taking away the focus from the Lord? Are we putting our things on the temporary, those petty arguments? You guys, I'm like the most guilty of that. So none of this, I'm not like doing this to anybody. This is me saying we've got to look more towards the heavenly instead of the temporary, the things that are rock solid instead of that which is fleeting. So in heavenly pursuits, are we building others up and encouraging them, standing by them, pointing them toward the Lord? And are our words we use, are they kingdom building words? We talked last time about living a life of praise and using our words to build others up. That's the same thing here. Are we building up the kingdom with our words and how we're speaking to one another and speaking truth to one another? Living with a kingdom perspective is also thinking about things we spend our time doing or not doing. And this is me saying this as a friend, just getting real and relevant here. The things that we are doing and not doing in our lives. Thinking about the eternal. Some of those things that we might not, should not do. Things like 50 Shades of Grey. Let me say as a friend, nothing about that is good. Nothing about that makes Jesus smile on us. Nothing about that is good for our marriages, our future marriages. Nothing about that is good for our children. So the things that we are doing or choosing not to do, those have eternal value, kingdom building versus kingdom tearing down others and tearing down what God has for us. Also, having a kingdom perspective is really thinking about how we spend our money. What we spend our money on or what we don't spend our money on. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute with a story that I'd like to tell you. But as I'm moving into this story, this is a very personal, kind of a funny story, but it's very personal to me. But the money thing. I'd like for us to take a minute to talk about investing in the kingdom. And I'd like to tell you a little bit of story about just something going on in my life with investing in the kingdom. So we have this red chair in our living room. And this red chair came from my grandmother. And this red chair came into our living room 13 years ago. We got married 13 years ago. So I for sure know at least the chair is 13 years. However, I know it's older than that because it was my grandmother's chair. I remember sitting in it as a kid. I know it's older than whatever, Lazy Boy. Like Lazy Boy wasn't a thing back then. So this chair is old. And it's one of those recliners, and I spent many hours watching TV or reading my book or propping my feet up when I was 9 months pregnant, eating watermelon, a lot of watermelon. And this chair is just a part. Okay, just so you're not worried. Okay, just so you're not worried. We've redone the chair since my grandmother's back in the 60s. Okay, so don't worry about that. So the chair is red. It's my red chair, and it's a recliner. And lately, the red chair is kind of looking ratty, like bad. There's some holes in it. And the little kick out part sometimes like kicks out a little like lopsided. And my 6-year-old who's crazy wild with his crazy wild friends all jump all over the chair and it's about done. But you know what? It still works. So I'm looking at this chair and I'm thinking, we really need a chair. We need a new chair. And then I'm thinking, I'm not sure my husband would be good with getting the new chair. And let me tell you why. Not before you think that somebody has control over my bank account. No, I'm just kidding. So my husband, I can brag on him because he's not here right now, so he won't get mad at me, so he doesn't know. Ooh, oh. That was not him. He's not here. That's hilarious. Okay. Okay. My husband has a gift of generosity. He's a banker. He's financially minded. And he's really come into his gift of generosity. And he's taught me a lot about pouring out money. You see, that's his way to do ministry. I do ministry by talking. And he does ministry by giving. What in the world? Okay, I'm taking this off. It might be this. So my husband has this generosity gift, and he has taught me so much about sacrificially giving. He even sets aside his whole bonus to give away. You guys, I want a new red chair. But you know what? He wants to give that money away to bless others because God has graciously blessed us. So what I've learned from that is, you know what? That chair's working for now. It may have holes in it. I might not love it when my friends come over and they see my holy red chair. But you know what? Instead of spending money for a new chair, my husband loves to bless others with his money. And that's the way that I can honor him. I say, honey, okay, we'll deal with the red chair. I'll get over myself and we'll deal with the red chair. So when we compare, a lot of times we find ourselves as women, especially like when we're comparing our lives and when we're seeing what others' lives look like, and then we start doing the whole, but I got to go buy this and I got to go fix this up perfectly. Those things take away literally our money from kingdom pursuits, from heavenly pursuits. And you know what? That red chair, the green money, keeps me grounded. What matters most is making Jesus famous and taking our place in the kingdom. So do we spin our wheels on things that are temporary? I've been there. I've spun my wheels. There was a time when I was very young, so I didn't know how to do money anyway. Spend money, budget, it just wasn't even a thing in my brain. So my husband deployed right when we were brand new married. And he deployed and left me in charge with the bank account. And we lived in a place where Target was abundant. See, here in Moore County, if you're not from Moore County here, we don't have Target, and that's a thing. So that's why I'm saying I went and spent every day, like literally every day. And I spun my wheels. I was searching for something that only God could fulfill. So are we spinning our wheels on things that are temporary? And this, you know what? This is the thing. This is something each and every one of us need to check in with the Lord about. Because my red chair issues might not be your red chair issues. God might be saying, it's okay, go buy your red chair to you. Because each of us, it's a heart thing. Each of our heavenly pursuits start with getting down before the Lord, kneeling down, coming before him in prayer and deciding, okay, God, what are you doing in me? What are you doing with me? And what do we need to do together to move forward? But I'm going to tell you though, just because I know investing in the kingdom in many ways, but especially financially, there are so many ministries, so many people, so many just people who need us to give. So I'd like to take a look at Psalm 147. So we're just skipping ahead from Psalm 145 to Psalm 147. And we're going to take a look at 10 and 11. This is going to blow your mind. Psalm 147 says, verse 10, he takes no pleasure in the raw strength of horses. He finds no joy in the speed of the sprinter. But the Eternal does take pleasures in those who worship him, those who invest hope in his unfailing love. Let me back up to verse 10. He takes no pleasure in the raw strength of horses. He finds no joy in the speed of sprinter. I see that as that earthly pursuit type of thing. Those are earthly things. However, the Eternal does take pleasure in those who worship